Digital versus real identity, complexity of one's identity. The digital world heavily influences the identity of 21st century human beings. The internet works as a prism because the identity of an online user can be separated into different versions of oneself, adding to the complexity of the idea of self-identity. This plurality sheds light on the differences and similarities between digital and real identity. How do they differ? The imagined online self. Firstly, the username gives the opportunity to name oneself as opposed to the name that we are given during birth, providing a sort of online autonomy to the users to play with words and use names that suit one's personality or sense of self. Then, the profile picture or the online avatar can be a picture of the user, things they like, fictional characters, or anything that they want. In the gaming community, creating an avatar that is completely different from the gamer in real life is a common trend. The movie Ready Player One depicts this trend by making the main characters create virtual avatars that differ from their physical appearances in the real world. Hence, the virtual world opens the door to million representations of the self. The anonymous online self. The digital world serves as a platform to express one's opinion without revealing their real identity. It gives a sense of liberty to the user without being subjected to scrutiny and criticisms that they will receive if done in real life. The anonymity separates the real self and the online self, where the user can dissociate from their opinions expressed online. One can argue that the anonymous online self is free of gender, race, status, nationality, etc., which will play a huge role in the real world. However, this sense of liberty has its limits, where one cannot separate the real self from their online representation. Social media pretends to be a way of communicating with friends, but it pushes the users to construct an idealized identity that they aspire to have and show online. Thus, the digital identity is self-generated and the ideals are solely based on the societal norms. This reinforces the idea that digital identity is just an extension of us and that virtual reality is far from being a utopia where equality and communication preside over everything. The perfect online self. Social media has become a virtual stage where many users are dedicated to portraying a version of themselves that seems perfect. This heavily affects the idea of self, which mostly depends on what we want others to see, conforming to the social norms. Also, this form of identity focuses more on the physical and superficial aspects of one's perception of themselves. The number of likes and shares are virtual equivalents of social validation. Especially, the trends and hashtags influence the idea of self as the users are in constant comparison with millions of others online. Hence, the self is divided into the real me and the representation of the online perfect me. The rise in Photoshop, Facetune, and filters only fuel this idealization of certain body features that match the beauty standards. The online identity strives for an unattainable perfection, hiding all the insecurities rather than accepting someone for who they are. The body positivity movement that trends online acts only as a facade to the deep-rooted problem in the real world. Catfish. The online community has numerous catfishes that use fake online identities. Especially in online dating, catfishing describes users creating online identities with idealized information to form relationships with other users. A catfish deconstructs their real physical identity and reconstructs a virtual physical identity that is based on the beauty standards of society. In addition to this, other types of catfish make us question the inequality present in the real world. Coming back to the movie Ready Player One, one of the characters, Ek, is an African-American woman named Helen Harris, who uses a Caucasian male appearance and voice for her avatar to be easily accepted by her peers. Here, the differences in gender and race between her online and real identity show that even the virtual world is built based on the model of the real world, where the users cannot escape these discriminations. Is this an identity crisis? Identity is complex and evolving, and the introduction of social media gives another dimension to one's identity, which is not singular, but a collection of multiple identities. Nowadays, The question, who am I, demands an answer that synthesizes the real and digital identities of one single person. It seems hard to find equilibrium between these two aspects of one's identity and provide an answer that represents one's authentic self.